but we'll get started. You can still listen to Prop 59, which Carol is going to tell you about.
Prop 59 is interesting because it's advisory only. Prop 59 asks, should California's elected officials use their authority to propose and ratify an amendment to the federal Constitution, overturning the U.S. Supreme Court decision on Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission? Let's look at the background information first. There are two main forms of political campaign contributions. One, money given directly to candidates, committees that support candidates, and political parties. And two, independent, quote-unquote, expenditures, or money given in support of or in opposition to a candidate without coordination with the candidate's campaign. Before 2010, federal law limited independent expenditures that corporations and labor unions could make in federal elections. Then in 2010, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Citizens United that independent expenditures by corporations and labor unions are protected as free speech under the First Amendment. So now there's no limit to how much money can be given by these entities, often in the form of super PACs, political action committees. In order for a proposed amendment to take effect, it must be ratified by legislatures of 3/4 of all the states. The California legislature previously asked that Congress propose an amendment to reverse the effects of Citizens United or call a constitutional convention for the same purpose. It's important to remember that this is advisory only and has no legal effect and does not require any particular action by Congress or the California legislature. There would be no direct fiscal effect. Those arguing in favor of Prop 59 say it's an important message to the California legislature. It would affirm California's genuine commitment to campaign finance reform and would therefore diminish the influence of big money in our elections. Although rules do exist between an official campaign and a supportive super PAC, the Federal Elections Commission has not effectively enforced those rules. Some of the arguments against Prop 59 are, it's a waste of tax dollars because it can't change the law, and we shouldn't be clogging our ballots with non-binding measures. Prop 59 is unfortunately a vague and poorly drafted measure, even though eliminating the corrupting influence of money in our democracy is a vital concern. While a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United may have a quick fix appeal, it would be slow, laborious, and costly, and potentially unsuccessful. Instead of looking to an imagined silver bullet, it would be more effective to take broad action now on one, fixing our Federal Elections Commission, 2, expanding disclosure laws, 3, overturning California's ban on public financing of elections, and 4, asking a new Supreme Court to revisit the ruling. Very little money has come on either side of this proposition. Some of the supporters of Prop 59 are California Common Cause, California Clean Money Campaign, California Teachers Association, California Democratic Party, Consumer Watchdog. Some of the opponents of Proposition 59 are a long list of California legislatures, too many to list, but all of whom are Republicans, and the League of Women Voters of California.
And now we move to Proposition 60. Proposition 60 asks, Should performers in adult films be required to use condoms during filming? Should new requirements for producers of adult films be added to the California Labor Code? And should private citizens be allowed to file suit based on violation of these requirements? Here is some important related information. California is a leading adult film industry location. Currently, Cal OSHA requires condom use during sex on adult film sets because of the possibility of transmitting sexually transmitted infections, such as HIV. However, some producers and performers prefer to make adult films without condoms and instead use regular health testing to confirm that performers are free of harmful infections. Almost $1.5 million was spent to collect over 365,000 valid signatures to put this measure before voters, resulting in a total cost per required signature of $3.85. This was all paid by one organization. With passage of this production, adult film producers would be required to provide condoms and be able to prove that they did so. Producers would have to be licensed by Cal OSHA, pay licensing fees, pay for the costs of vaccines, testing, and medical exams, and keep records showing that they complied with the requirements. Adult film distributors and talent agents could also face liability for violations, and any California resident could request Cal OSHA to address an alleged violation, and if Cal OSHA did not take action, that person could file a civil lawsuit against the adult film producer or distributor. So let's see what the fiscal effect is. The fiscal effect on the state, because some parts of the industry would likely relocate outside of California, which would result in reduced state and local revenue by several $1 million per year. So, those in favor of Prop 60 say Prop 60 will close loopholes and improve enforcement of the existing laws so that the adult film industry is held to the same workplace protection law that applies to every other California industry. Prop 60 provides health officials with the enforcement tools they need to help ensure the law is enforced and adult film workers are adequately protected. And a major proponent is Dr. Jeffrey Klausner, professor of medicine and public health at UCLA. Those saying vote against Prop 60 say this 13-page measure is poorly drafted, and the real impact of the measure is the creation of an unprecedented lawsuit bonanza that could cost taxpayers tens of millions of dollars. Prop 60 creates a new private right of action authorizing any of the 38 million residents of California to file lawsuits directly against adult film performers, on-set crew, and even cable and satellite television companies who distribute the films. It could endanger porn performers who often use screen names if their identities and addresses are made public. So let's look at the funding of Prop 60. Almost $2 million has gone into the Yes on 60 from the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. The No on Prop 60 has raised $120,000 from such entities as Wicked Pictures, Multimedia Corporation, and Cybernet Entertainment. Some supporters of 60 are the AIDS Healthcare Foundation and the California Academy of Preventive Medicine. Some of the opponents to 60 are the California Democratic Party, the California Republican Party, the California Libertarian Party, and the AIDS Project Los Angeles LGBT Center, San Francisco AIDS Foundation, and the San Francisco Medical Society.
Proposition 61 is the one you're seeing all the ads about. And it's very confusing, and I would really suggest that after this presentation you look at Voter's Edge and go in depth to see what's happening here. This will hit the highlights. Proposition 61 asks, should state agencies generally be prohibited from paying more for any prescription drug than the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs pays for the same drug? Here's some important information. Right now, the state purchases prescription drugs under various programs for current and retired state employees, prison inmates, and some Medi-Cal enrollees. The VA typically negotiates and receives price discounts and maintains a public database that lists the prices it pays for most drugs. Proposition 61 would apply to current and retired state employees, prison inmates, and some Medi-Cal enrollees, and would affect up to 20% of Californians. Fiscal effects. The amount of any savings under 61 would range from relatively little to significant annual savings, depending on how drug companies respond. Those arguing in favor of Proposition 61 say, since the legislature has failed twice this year to pass legislation to control drug prices and increase pharmaceutical company transparency, it is important that we do something to control skyrocketing drug prices. Proposition 61 empowers the state to negotiate the same or better prescription prices as the VA is able to get. This would be a good start at making drug prices more reasonable. Those arguing against Proposition 61 say, Proposition 61 only covers patients in certain government programs, with most Californians being excluded. There's a possibility that Proposition 61 would motivate drug companies to increase the prices the VA negotiates and eliminate state drug discounts. Who contributes money? Yes, on Proposition 61 has around $10 million, mainly from the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. The No on Prop 61 has raised $86.5 million, mostly from pharmaceutical companies such as Johnson & Johnson, Merck, Pfizer, Amgen, and Sanofi. Some of the supporters of Prop 61R, California Nurses Association, Vote Vets Action Fund, Progressive Democrats of America, Senator Bernie Sanders, and Robert Reich, former U.S. Secretary of Labor. Some of the organizations opposed to 61R, California Medical Association, California Psychiatric Association, California Taxpayers Association, and the Chronicle was voting no.
Now this one is going to be a little bit longer, but we're going to accomplish 2 propositions. And we have one other pairing that we're going to do before we finish. It's because we have 2 ballot measures on the death penalty. There's Prop 62, which is the abolition of the death penalty, and Prop 66, which is not. So let's begin with 62. But before, I'll give you just a short background on both. Since both 62 and 66 are about the death penalty, we have lumped them together. 62 seeks to abolish the death penalty. The other, 66, seeks to shorten the time frame allowed for legal challenges to death sentences. So we're going to go through 62 first. The question is, should the death penalty in California be repealed and replaced with life imprisonment without the possibility